People want to overlook you because of your age, but I think the minute you start showcasing your tenacity, your ability and willingness to understand policy, they'll quickly forget your age.
Right.
Yeah. So it all comes down to how you present yourself, I think, at the end of the day. So.
Well, let's talk about what you introduced today.
Mhm.
It was a package of what, 14?
14 bills and 2
two
resolutions.
Why so many bills?
Yeah. So we introduced the what we call the My Civil Rights Expansion bill package, and 14 bills, 2 resolutions. If I could, I would have made it a far greater number of bills, but we simply just didn't have the time. And what it does is essentially it enacts welcoming policies in the state of Michigan. It ensures that our resources are not being misappropriated for a job duty that should be relocated to the federal government. It ensures that we're propping up our economy, and that we're encouraging and really boosting economic vitality. We're ensuring people go about their daily lives without fear. Without the fear that they're going to be racially discriminated against or profiled, without the fear that they're going to be ripped apart from their family members. The reason we put the bill package together was in the last several years we've seen a real spike in hate crimes. In the last year alone, some institutes have seen a 20% increase in hate crimes in the major metropolitan areas. The Southern Poverty Law Center has, in the 10 days post the November election, identified over 800 hate crimes in just those first 10 days. And so this is about ensuring that civil rights are in place for all, regardless of birthplace.
Right. And so, again, why so many bills? So does each bill address a certain...
Exactly, yeah. So each bill addresses to enact a welcoming policy in different areas.
Right.
Several of the bills have to deal with, ensuring our local police maintain good relations with the community that they protect. Some of the bills deal with ensuring that no database will ever be upheld or maintained by the state of Michigan that expects people to register themselves based on country of origin or religion or sexual orientation. We have bills that look to support immigrant-owned businesses, as well as women-owned businesses and minority-owned businesses. The data is on the side of this bill package. In communities that have such welcoming policies, there is less crime. There is a higher median income, household income. 35% of all Fortune 500 companies in the state of Michigan are either from an individual's immigrant born or son or daughter of immigrant born. And so the data just supports this package, and we do our best to stay by the data.
Well, why do you think it's important for a body like yours, the House of Representatives, and then further, the entire, the entire establishment here? Why is it important to come out and say we welcome immigrants here?
Yeah.
And then, again, not just here in the state,
Of course.
federally.
Of course. We want to grow at the end of the day. We want economic growth, which means you want population growth. Michigan is trying to climb back up to hit that 10 million population number. And to do that, we need to welcome individuals from neighboring states, as well as welcoming individuals from nations near and far. That is how you produce a state that is thriving, one that embraces its diversity. And that's what these policies try to do. At the same time, we're trying to spur a culture change, one that stems away from the fear-mongering that we've seen. A culture change, that embraces and that greets my mother's hijab with reverence, not rebuke. That welcomes my father's accent with curiosity, not caution. So in addition to enacting policies to boost the state of Michigan and make us a top-tier state, it's also to ensure that every individual has an equal opportunity at the American dream.
How do you think your bills, will be received in light of the passage of a recent anti-sanctuary bill?
Yeah, so there will be hesitation from individuals on some aspects of my bill package. There may be a few components which they don't agree with. Whether it comes down to a disagreement of values, a disagreement of morals. For me, this package embraces what America is supposed to be. It props up our American values of being welcoming, of opening up our doors to individuals from all over. And so there will certainly be hesitancy for individuals to co-sponsor the bill package, but there are several individual components. The beauty of the package is not all the bills have to get through together. Each individual bill can make its way throughout the bill process. And so maybe they don't have an appetite for some, but there are certainly others. For example, we're codifying federal law, which basically says you cannot raise your profile. There's actually no law on the books. We're trying to codify that into law. So I don't see how there could be opposition when that technically is current practice.
Our slogan in the state is welcoming Michigan. Recently, during the election, the governor said that, although I'm on the side of welcoming immigrants, I would like to be part of the discussion. We're talking about Trump's travel ban.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Schuette has come out in full support of Trump. So, do you think there needs to be more explicit opposition to ideals like this?
Mm-hmm. We have to do better. That's the short answer. We have to do better, and I'm speaking to all individuals who have been that are appointed. We have to put in place policies and procedures that really showcase what our welcoming place. Words mean nothing these days. You can say you're a welcoming state, and then you can enact policies and procedures that in turn you actually welcome. And so what did the words get you? It got you nothing. And so for us, the opposition is out there. They're marching. I think it's going to be, one of the big signs is going to be this next election next year, the midterm elections. I think we'll really see, there's this new energy about being civically engaged. We see all the protests for science, for the environment, for healthcare, for, against the travel ban. And now I'm really excited to see how that translates into the election process.
So you think, what's the best way, do you think, to get not only Arab Americans but immigrants engaged in the political process? Do you think the distrust between our community and government law enforcement plays into?
Yeah, certainly. Obviously, in recent years, we've seen a recent highlight of police aggression, within communities, larger communities of color. And so my bill package, tries to prevent that tension from happening, from spurring. We obviously need to have an environment that fosters open dialogue and understanding for one another's backgrounds in a respectful manner. And that's what welcoming policies try to do, and that's what this bill package will try to spur. So whatever we can do along those lines. I forgot the question.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I'll move on to a different. Well, do you think? I don't want to put you on the spot, but do you think your district should become a welcoming or a sanctuary district? I mean, this is within your district.
So we don't. So I'll never use the word sanctuary. So sanctuary is the condescending. It's the negative connotation term, right? So I certainly think that every city should enact welcoming policies. It's only proven beneficial. Higher median income, lower crime, higher education rate. And so, what are the negative aspects to becoming a welcoming city or enacting welcoming policies? The city of Ann Arbor is one. They've seen the lowest crime rate they've had ever. City of Southfield has welcomed more immigrants, top 10 cities across this nation that have been welcoming to refugees and immigrants, and they have had some of the lowest crimes in their book. And so for me, I don't see the negative consequences for being a welcoming city. And it's in complete alignment with federal law. You're not doing anything unconstitutional.
Well, in terms of Dearborn, do you think Dearborn's officials are outspoken enough, in support of welcoming immigrants? Do you think they need to be more outspoken about it?
For me, words only get you so far. I would love to see policies and procedures actually enacted, because again, you can say you are welcoming, and Dearborn has always said it's a welcoming place. But, you and I both know very well Dearborn has a very racist history. We had a motto that was keep Dearborn clean. And keep Dearborn clean wasn't talking about sweeping the streets. It was about ensuring that Dearborn was white. It was keep it clean from Arab Americans, from African Americans. Up until 2006, we had a mayor, send out a mailer to every single household that said, let's talk about the Arab problem. Yeah, we were a welcoming place to immigrants and Arab Americans. And so, again, words only go so far.
How, if these anti-sanctuary legislation would actually be enacted, how do you think it would affect the families in your district?
Very much so. It would certainly implement greater fear. Fear that any day someone may racially profile you as an immigrant who may be undocumented, who may have committed a crime. And I ask anybody, what does that look like? Does that look like me? Does that look like my father, my uncle, my mother, my sister? Nobody can tell me what that looks like, but that's essentially what you're saying. For any local police or any individual who works for the city, regardless of whether you're police or not, has to cooperate and provide information to federal officials. Secondly, we don't receive any resources from the federal government to do this. This is big government trying to influence our local government. And I'm about propping up our local governments to make decisions that are tailored to the community that they serve. We've already seen the state try to balance its budget on the backs of local municipalities. We've severed, and the previous legislatures have literally destroyed the revenue sharing between state and local municipalities. And now the federal government is trying to do the same. Expect more for less. And it just doesn't make any economic sense either.
What do you consider when you're voting on certain bills that go against or that place more burden on the state's budget or on the city's budget?
You have to ask yourselves, what are the short-term gains and losses? What are the long-term gains and losses? Essentially, first and foremost, whenever I'm making a decision, I ask myself, how does this impact the residents of my community? And subsequently, how does this impact the residents of the state of Michigan? And sometimes those can be at odds. So you have to ask yourself, what are the benefits or the advantages, what are the disadvantages for this legislation? And you have to make a decision. The people who elected you to serve, understand that you may not have an answer for everything, but they appreciate your vision, they appreciate your tenacity, your willingness to ask and to find reliable information and making and weighing that decision. And that's what you have to do.
And what's kind of been just the reaction from other your colleagues about your stance on things? So just being an Arab American, I want to know what they think about you.
Yeah. So for many, I'm the first Muslim. I'm the only Muslim in the legislature. So I'm the first Muslim they've ever met. I'm making it a mission to bring all my colleagues to the city of Dearborn, so that they can see what a diverse, thriving community is actually like. And so far, I've brought over, I think, 35 of the 109, I guess, if I'm taking myself out, of the 109. And my goal is to visit all their districts as well as bring them all to Dearborn so that they can see for themselves what Dearborn is like and shatter any stereotypes or misconceived notions they may have. But for most of my colleagues, there are, you do receive the indirectly racist slurs every once in a while, or direct. But for the majority of my colleagues, they see me for who I am, my values and my morals and the way I carry myself. And that's what I want. Go ahead. I was going to say, I wasn't elected as the Arab legislature. I wasn't elected as the Muslim legislator. I was elected as Dearborn's legislator. And I just happened to be Arab and Muslim. And so I welcome any questions if they have regarding my race, ethnicity, or religion. I'm happy to carry that conversation in a respectful environment. But for me, my focus is, how do I better the residents of Dearborn? And collectively, how can we better the residents of both of our communities and of the whole state together? And that's where your common ground is.
Does it concern you that some of, these are individuals representing, thousands of people?
Yeah.
They've never met, or you're the only Muslim
Yeah.
in their lives. Does that concern
you? I think overall, we need to see a legislative body that's reflective of the people that they serve. We need more minorities to run for office, more women running for office. And through that process, I won't be the only Muslim in the House providing a different perspective. And so, that's why I usually support organizations such as Emerge, which supports a progressive woman running for office. There are organizations like NELP, New American Leadership Project, which supports immigrant born or first-generation immigrants running for office. And so those types of organizations seek to foster that environment where the body that represents the people actually looks like the people.
Can I ask you, are you fasting?
Yeah.
You've been fasting?
Yeah.
Not to put you on the spot.
No, you're fine.
How's it been you fasting. It's a crazy day.
Yeah, it is. My lips are a little chapped when I was speaking at the press conference. You want to prevent yourself from licking your lips though on camera, or pulling out chapstick. I'd say, it's been about 2 weeks almost, right? I've probably lost more weight than previously, in previous years, because it's longer days and nights, and by the time it comes around to eating, I'm just exhausted. But the fast has been great. The fast keeps you on your toes. It keeps me energized, and it opens up the door to many questions by many of my colleagues who are curious as to why you fast, or how is it you fast. And so actually next week we're hosting a iftar dinner for all the legislators, all representatives and senators in Lansing. We invited all 148. And we brought it to Lansing because we wanted to make it easy for them. And so we'll see how many of my colleagues will join. I know there have been a few Republicans who already said they're coming, and a few Democrats said they're coming. So it'd be great.
So where's that going to be held?
At the Radisson Hotel. So there's only one hotel in downtown Lansing,
Right.
and so most individuals stay there overnight. And so we figured we'd make it downstairs and make it easier for them.
Yeah. Do you think, just the anti-immigrant climate, these bills,
Mhm.
do you think they're part of just a scapegoating? Where they're trying to find a scapegoat
Yeah.
for,
It's fear mongering. It's
but why?
for political gain. It's a populist movement. If we talk to, civil rights as a whole, back in the day, slavery was, everybody agreed, there was a general consensus and agreement regarding slavery. Doesn't mean it was right. When it came down to ensuring African Americans weren't seen as real human beings, that was a majority consensus. Everybody was in agreement to that, but doesn't mean it was right. Same thing with a woman who, providing women's rights. When we put Japanese internment camps, just because there is a popular ideology or thought going around doesn't mean it's the right ideology or thought process. And so, and right now, we just see individuals such as the White House administration that's just capitalizing right now through fear mongering, for political gain, and it translates into money, and it translates into votes.
Do you think that's reflected in the House, in the Michigan House?
You do have instances where individuals seek to appease the residents of their community, even if they disagree with what they're doing. And I won't give any names, but there were examples where some legislators co-sponsored some legislation that just sought to, that was a bill on the backs really of Islamophobia and xenophobia. And when asked, why did you sign this? They said, well, the people in my community are up in arms about this. Even though it was morally wrong and ethically wrong, and there was no justification or validation for why this legislation was needed. But they did it to, seek to appease the voters because re-election is on their mind. That's the consequence of term limits.
I'll ask you one, maybe two last questions. Can we know about, I know we can look this up, but some of the recent bills that you've voted yes on?
There are so many. Yesterday, we did 20 votes yesterday.
What do you most likely would vote yes on and most likely vote no on?
Yeah, so for me, I'd most likely vote yes on anything that really improves the quality of life for the residents of Michigan. One vote I did vote no against was Choose Life license plate. And this was, the first time that the government, we have various license plates in the state of Michigan for various organizations. You can purchase that license plate, and the money you use to purchase that license plate is donated to that organization. And this is the first time that the government actually pushed out of the House a license plate that would push a political ideology and support a political ideology, which I think as state government we should not have done. But overwhelmingly, the majority supported yes.
Do you think there are some issues that your constituents would disagree on with you?
Oh yeah, I mean, when I vote yes or no on a bill, I'm obviously voting yes with some of my constituents and voting against what some of my constituents want. For example, there's a concealed carry piece of legislation coming up, and this says that you no longer need a CPL to carry a pistol concealed. I have some residents in my district who are all about that, saying get government out, get government overwatch, get Big Brother out of here. I don't want them to know if I have a CPL or not. I don't want to have to pay the fee for the classes. And for me, that just eliminates another layer of gun safety and does nothing to prevent gun violence. And so I'm in opposition. And I'll explain my vote and we'll go from there.
Cool.
Cool?
This is good. Anything else you
Perfect.
want to add?
I gotta run the committee.
Absolutely.
Our session.
All right, I'll have